Let's talk about Donald Trump and his balancing act. Trump has invited Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu to become the first foreign leader to visit the White House since his re-election. And there are talks that his first international trip will be to Saudi Arabia. So that's Israel and Saudi, two Middle Eastern countries at loggerheads vying for power. So why is Trump wooing Israel and Saudi? Will Trump's balancing act work? And what will a deal mean for the Middle East? I'm Ananya Datta for Hindustan Times. Let's get some answers. Netanyahu has called his visit a symbol of strength for U.S. Israel ties. But it goes beyond that. The visit comes as Netanyahu is barely able to hold his domestic fort together. There is a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, Israel's withdrawal deal with Hezbollah is expiring in 2 weeks, and then there is an old promise to normalize ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia. We need to go back to the year 2020. This was the moment when Donald Trump emerged as the ultimate peacemaker.
We're here this afternoon to change the course of history. After decades of division and conflict, we mark the dawn of a new Middle East.
I am grateful to you, President Trump, for your decisive leadership. You have unequivocally stood by Israel's side. You have boldly confronted the tyrants of Tehran. You've proposed a realistic vision for peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
It took a lot of signing and smiling for the accords to come true. That day and in the weeks to follow, Israel normalized ties with 4 Arab nations: the UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan. 4 countries that had stood against Israel's occupation of Palestinian lands. The accord majorly stood on 2 pillars: acceptance of Israel as a legitimate state and peace in the Israel-Palestine conflict. But in reality, it brought anything but peace. The agreement is often sold as a way to stabilize the region and push for economic development, but none of the signatories of the accords were in direct conflict with Israel to begin with. Experts say the deal is a fiction presented to those who are unaware of ground realities. And this is where Saudi Arabia comes in. For decades, the fate of Palestine was a prominent issue, if not the central issue in Arab politics. And it has been led by the Saudis. So normalization with Israel is a sour topic for Riyadh. The region has also brought Saudi closer to Iran. After a thaw in ties for 7 long years, Saudi Arabia reopened its embassy in Tehran and hosted talks with top officials. None of this sits well with the US or Israel. Saudi Arabia is not just another country in the Middle East. It has money, power, and Mohammed bin Salman, someone who is diversifying the country's economy, whether that comes from Washington or Beijing, he doesn't seem to care. The situation today has rapidly changed. Trump wants a deal and he wants it now. Trump's first call to a foreign leader was MBS, and he has already hinted that his first foreign visit could be Riyadh. Trump says the ball is in MBS's court.
So the first foreign trip typically has been with UK, but I did it with Saudi Arabia last time because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of our product. I said, I'll do it, but you have to buy American product, and they agreed to do that. They bought $450 billion. It was the least reported story I've ever been involved in.
And now, where are you planning to go now?
Well, I don't know. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy another 450 or 500, we'll up it for all the inflation.
Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff has already visited Riyadh twice. But shuttle diplomacy isn't going to cut the deal here. Several conditions must fall into place to make this deal viable. First is the Gaza ceasefire. It must hold and advance to its second phase. If all goes well, by early March, phase 1 will be complete. But there is already a hitch. Netanyahu has decided to seize control of the negotiations in phase 2. Netanyahu believes the next phase will be higher on diplomacy, and hence he needs to take charge to push for his own domestic agenda. Trump continues to show less faith in the Gaza ceasefire, and the rhetoric seems to be working for Netanyahu. These are exactly the sentiments the Israeli Prime Minister wants to hear to keep the far-right elements back at home happy. Second, reconstruction of Gaza and a pathway to a Palestinian statehood. The Saudi Crown Prince and his aides have consistently cited this pathway as a requirement for normalization to proceed. Again, Trump talking about a quote-unquote clean out of Gaza and forcing other Arab nations to take in the displaced Palestinians is not helping. Third, the ceasefire in Lebanon must hold, and Israel will likely need to roll back its outposts in the Syrian Golan Heights. A quiet Israeli-Lebanese border is key for normalization. Fourth, Saudi's personal interests. Trump and MBS must reach an agreement on a series of bilateral deals, and the list is long. Security treaties, defense cooperation, an energy agreement, nuclear cooperation, and a trade and investment deal. All of these pieces will take time to resolve, and they are not likely to fall into place during Netanyahu's visit to Washington or Trump's proposed visit to Saudi. It's not going to be like Trump signing off on all the tariffs. Having said that, it is very clear that Donald Trump's balancing act between Israel and Saudi will have a direct impact on the balance of power in the Middle East. And new problems will need new solutions.
What the changes in India's population and the differential growth rates.
This city has emerged.
We have a very special guest on the record.
The interview.
The role that the U.S. side played at that point of time.
पूरी दुनिया की नजर
Assume my phone is tapped, I can probably say hello to Mr. Modi.
आपके भारत पर है.
Episode of Know Your Candidate.
The rising confidence of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Communist China is the greatest threat.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremist.
I'm still a little perplexed by why we.
Your daily dose of news from India and across the world. Cutting edge views and analysis. Tune into HT videos. Click on the bell icon to subscribe.